Last time on Powerless, there was even more banter, even more flirting. This time, under a tree. Peyton took Kit into town to walk among the common folk. He showed her the secret tunnel that the rebels are seeking. But we can't hang around with Kit for too long because Kai had a bad dream, TM, and Peyton had to go comfort him, but, still in a sexy, flirty way. Kai and Peyton ate breakfast and bantered even more. Then we cut to another ball. Peyton stole Kit's keys that he always has on him no matter what, and she immediately gave them to Lenny. Kai and Peyton then flirted in the rain for a nice change of scenery. And then they all woke up to find themselves in a Harry Potter-style hedge maze. Peyton ran around for a while and got her foot injured, and soon they will all meet in the middle of the maze to find out what sort of nonsense the author has cooked up for them this time.
Welcome back to this very hot day. I am going to try to get through this book today. So before lunch, I'm going to read some chapters, and then after lunch, it might be cosplay time. Woo! Nigel is here next to me, making sure that I stay extra warm, especially now that I've had to turn the fan off because I don't like the extra noise. So wish us luck. We might just overheat right here in this chair. We are on chapter 56 with Kai. Great news, everyone. Kai is also an idiot about going through mazes. Right, left, dead end, shit. One of these characters, can't she turn into a bird? She could, fly up and get a view and then fly back down? Or did she die? We never found out what happened to her. She got poisoned by a snake, and then we never found out what happened to her, as far as I know. Maybe I missed it. Maybe it was just, very briefly, oh, and she died, or oh, and she lived. We don't care about her. It was just so Kai could be heroic and carry her up a mountain, I guess? Not really sure why the snake poisoning happened. But anyway, now I get that this is a shifting maze, and probably taking every left isn't going to help you, but the characters could at least try it, instead of just completely giving up on any semblance of logic and bumblefucking their way around the maze. Wow, this makes him sound like a really mature adult man. He thinks, I'm in a pissy mood. A pissy mood, are ya? Are you 5? Oh, there are snakes in this maze as well. We are really leaning heavily on the snake thing. I don't understand. What is up with the snakes? Why are we so snake obsessed? Without actually ever finding anything out about these snakes except for that they exist.
Here in the old there before.
So the walls do the same thing to Kai that they were doing to Peyton. They close in and get narrower, and of course, because he has such broad man shoulders, he's brushing up against the walls on both sides. And of course, he has to take a minute to think about how clever it is that his father had them narrow the paths. Why does everybody in such a hurry to call this man a criminal mastermind? I don't understand. Everything he does seems like the worst possible idea. But we have to keep insisting that actually he's very clever, really. 100% so smart. Okay, I like this because it's not over-explained. This is just a fun, snappy moment. So it goes left, right, jaguar. I blink. Now, we don't need him to say that is not what I was expecting, because that seems pretty obvious, but it's left, right, left, jaguar. But I did like that moment. Okay, we're just introducing a new mechanic of her animal form. Apparently, if she stays in it too long, she goes fully animorphs and forgets that she's a human, which has never come up before, but all of a sudden he's I can't tell if she's gone full jaguar. What? It's just... Can we stop introducing brand new magical mechanics with less than 100 pages left in the book? The only reason that it exists here and now is so that Andy can be a threat, because previously they were friends. And that's the problem. The author is coming up with last-minute ditch things to make the story happen the way she wants it to, instead of laying down the infrastructure. We know that she didn't set up this animal thing earlier, because literally they spend 2 paragraphs explaining it to us. Andy is his friend. That's one thing we have been setting up, is that Andy likes him, they are friends. So now, when the author wants Andy to potentially attack him and have a reason to attack him, she has to come up with this whole new thing where, oh yes, by the way, totally all along, Andy could lose herself in animal form. We can learn from this as authors not to do it like that. If you wanted Andy at the end of your story to be a possible antagonist, then you have to set it up earlier than this. However you want to do it, either you have it set up early, much, much earlier, that this animal mind thing is a serious threat that could happen to her. You set that up early, or you find a reason not to have her be a friend. So he reaches for Andy's power, which makes sense. Like, she's right here, so fucking you transform into a bird, fly up out of her range, avoiding being killed, and it lets you scan the maze. But of course Kai doesn't think of that. In fact, very conveniently and just randomly, because Kai leads a charmed life filled with perfect luck rolls, somebody else's power comes into his range and he like teleports behind her. I forget which of them could teleport, but I think one of them could. So now he's like, boop, I'm behind you now. Again, this author just thinks we are so dumb. I'm not pointing it out every time, but I'll point this one out just to remind us. Andy crashes into the sand where she intended to crash into me. You have made it abundantly clear that this cat is trying to pounce on you. We don't need to know that she was intending to crash into you. It's obvious we knew that. You made that clear already. Trust us to figure that out. Oh, it's Jax's ability that he's borrowing. Jax can blink. So he's still like, I have to fight her. Jax moves out of range, so Kai no longer has the teleport ability, which makes me wonder why we bothered having that sequence in the first place. Like, why did it matter that he was briefly able to grab Jax's ability and then he lost it? Nothing changed within the fight. He just teleported behind the cat a couple of times. But now he's like, okay, I have to use her powers, and rather than transforming it into an animal that could get him away from the situation, he transforms into something that will allow him to fight her instead, because he's an idiot.
Is it supposed to be stupid?
It's not stupid. It's advanced.
Also, we are doing a lot of this specifically in this chapter, where they say a character does something. No, they actually do something else. Like earlier it said, she steps towards me. No, she prowls towards me. And then just here it says, I grunt in pain. No, I growl in pain. And it's like, we don't need that. Just say, I growl in pain. We can figure out that that's not normally the sound that you make. And of course, even though Kai makes a big deal out of how he has not trained with her ability very much, he's still a better fighter than her in animal form. She yelps? She's a big cat. They don't yelp. Did you transform into a canine somewhere in here that I missed? It's possible. Conveniently also, he is like immediately losing himself to the animal side, which again is a mechanic that we literally only introduced this chapter less than 100 pages from the end of the book. Honestly, I don't know what the point of this chapter is. Like, yeah, we want to know what Kai's up to, but like, do we gain anything from this chapter? Does the fact that he turns into a jaguar and then like almost loses himself to jaguar mode, but I'm certain he won't. We have no concern that he's not going to be able to get out of this. It's Kai. He's good at everything. Like, what is this chapter doing at all? What is it doing? Suddenly Andy gets the idea, which she should have had all along, to fly away. So she turns into a hawk and she's trying to get out. But of course, the people who are controlling the maze are paying super close attention, and when she tries, they create a dome over the top of the maze every time she tries to fly out, which, like, why didn't they just do that from the beginning? Why not just have the maze be enclosed over the top from jump, so we never wonder why the people who can transform into animals don't just fly up high? Yeah, like 1 minute he's struggling with his identity. Who am I? I can't transform back. I'm turning into a big cat. And then he watches Andy turn into a bird and then back into a jaguar. And then he just, no effort whatsoever, just transforms back. He's fine. People in this book are constantly ripping the bottoms of their shirts off to wrap around their injuries. Because he's got like bites and scratches. And so he's like, well, thank goodness I brought this like endless shirt that I can just rip bandages off of infinitely. Although I love the idea of now he's wandering around in a midriff shirt as well. So the chapter ends with him feeling some other power, and he's like, takes him a second, but he's like, ooh, one of the people who's controlling the maze, the Blooms, has accidentally gotten too close to me, and now I can grab their power. I don't know why they don't just put them behind the magical barrier and just make a dumb rule that says that people can do magic into the arena, but not out of it, and then they're completely protected. But no, he senses one and grins evilly. And that's the only purpose for that chapter. Like, I think the author wanted to injure him for later, Probably won't matter because injuries don't really matter, but I think the author wanted him injured. Probably just so Peyton can look at him and be like, oh no, he's injured. And he can look at her and be like, oh no, she's injured. And they can be dramatic about it, but otherwise that chapter served absolutely no fucking purpose. And we will continue on to the next chapter with Peyton, and I'm going to go ahead and just keep recording here because these are short, snappy back and forth chapters. Chapter 57. Oh yeah, she was about to face off with somebody, and surprising me, it's Blair. I did not think it would be Blair, but no, maybe did we kill Ace off? God, I cannot keep track of these characters, because I don't care about any of them, and they don't have personalities or even strong archetypes. No, you're right. You're right, Julian, he is dead. I thought that Ace was still alive, but no, we killed him off page, because Peyton just, was like, go to town, boyfriend, while I go get this flag. So that's why I didn't remember, because he was ruthlessly tortured and killed, but not on page. So anyway, I guess yes, it has to be Blair. Blair loves to use force choke. That's one of her favorite go-to moves, and she immediately goes to force choking Peyton as we speak, which I am on board for. So we are claiming that she learned how to fight this girl better thanks to the totally random sparring episode that we had, which feels more like the author trying to justify why that existed. But you could just as easily, she didn't learn anything from that fight. She already knew going into that fight, Blair is not a physical fighter. She uses her psychic abilities. She relies on that. So if Peyton already knew that going into that first sparring session, then if you delete that sparring session and have her just already know that for this, then we don't need the sparring session at all. She didn't learn anything from the sparring session. She just knew stuff already within it. Blair wants to do a villain monologue and gloat, so she doesn't just snap Peyton's neck with her psychic powers, which would be the smart thing to do, but all of these characters are dumber than a box of rocks. The main character is getting to Blair by pointing out how annoying she is, the main character is. So she's like, you can't have either of the princes. I know you want them, but you can't have them because they both like me. And it's like, wow, that is such a pick-me girl thing to say. Haha, I have all the boys, you stupid bitch. Her plan, just to be clear, Peyton's genius level plan is to make Blair so annoyed that Blair wants to kill Peyton with her bare hands, which is a terrible, awful, stupid plan. But it's gonna work because the main character is doing it. But Blair, again, need I mention, could just use the force to snap Peyton's neck, and she's used to using her powers to hurt people versus her bare hands. And that implies to me that her powers feel like an extension of herself. So I cannot imagine that this girl would ever actually, realistically, get so mad that she wants to kill Peyton with her bare hands. But like I said, of course it will work because the main character's doing it. All that this is doing, Peyton, is reminding me how fucking insufferable you are, because she's like, yeah, that's right. How does it feel to get rejected over and over again, Blair? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. You are absolutely obnoxious, Peyton.
'Cause you are a mean girl!
Yep, of course it works. Blair comes over to deal some blows physically, even though it is stupid and she would never do that. But Peyton, of course, is now winning. She knocks Blair down and knocks the wind out of her, which gives Peyton time to crawl on top of her and switch her father's ring from her thumb to her finger for maximum punching, so she can get to punching this girl in the face. So yeah, the only other female character of really any significance is the evil, bitchy rival who now gets to have her quote-unquote comeuppance for daring to be annoyed that the other girl just showed up and automatically had hot boys just handed to her. Peyton didn't do anything to make herself stand out to these boys. She just existed, and both of the boys just liked her, because that is the pick-me-girl dream. Of course, Peyton, who is sometimes very soft-hearted and sometimes completely ruthless and murderous, decides that she's satisfied with just knocking Blair unconscious, and now she's just going to run off. Because Peyton does not have a character, she has whatever the plot needs her to have at any given moment. And then, at the end of this chapter, Peyton literally just bumblefucks her way around the maze some more and just happens to come out upon the circle, the victory circle, or whatever. She's about to win, again through absolutely no effort of her own, because this maze rearranges itself. So it's not even like she cleverly found her way through a maze. All she did was run around, get injured, and beat up another girl. That's not a climax. Now I know there's probably going to be a big fight at the end of this because she's supposed to fight somebody in the middle, but like that's not a climax. That is not a culmination of the skills and abilities and lessons that the character has learned along the course of this book. That is not a culmination of the friendships or relationships that she has made throughout the course of this book. That is just a series of things that happen, and then the book will end. Anyway, I'm gonna stop now and then come back for some more chapters, and then time to make my lunch.
I feel like now would be a perfect time to mention that if you would like to write a book that is not like Powerless, if you would like to write a book with engaging characters that have interesting conversations, and perhaps you have written a book like that, but you're not certain that it's exactly perfect yet, that's really hard to figure out on your own. And just like the author of Powerless probably should have hired a developmental editor or two, I encourage you to hire a developmental editor. And would you look at that, I am a developmental editor. You can hire me now. Check me out on Fiverr, come on over and talk, and we'll discuss what is the best route for your book. Because trust me, I don't want to let your book turn into another Powerless situation.
Welcome back to my pre-lunch reading. We're with Kai. This chapter is only about a page long. Chapter 58. Kai is using the abilities from the bloom that he has grabbed. And he's just like running along and able to keep using them. And I'm like, okay, but you don't know where this bloom is. You don't know if you're going towards or away from them. Like, you don't know if they've realized that you're doing this and are getting out of your range. Like, what's your plan, guy? But Kai just, apparently his plan was to just barrel through as long as he had the power, which I guess is on brand for him. So anyway, he barrels through until he runs out of the power, and guess what? Fucking conveniently, he barrels right into the middle of the maze.
You're kidding, what a crazy random happenstance.
Maybe if you squint, you could be like, well, the blooms actually gave Kai their power because they knew that he would run towards the center. Although then, why did they run away? Because, like, they got out of range exactly as he was, like, barreling towards the center. You think they'd just stay there just a little bit longer so that he could fully get there? He kind of had to, like, squeeze at the end. You could say that they totally guided Peyton there because they're in control and the king told them to do so. So it could be a setup by the king. But it feels contrived by the author, not contrived by the king, contrived by the author. You know what I mean. I'm certain you know what I mean at this point because everything in this book feels so contrived by the author. As we've talked about many, many times, books by their very nature are contrived because we are literally making up everything that happens in them. The key is convincing your reader that these things are just flowing naturally from one to the other, not that they are just a series of random happenstances that the author thought would be cool. Disguising your random happenstances. I step into the open circle filled with nothing but sand and the two figures within it. So Kai is filled with sand. You should say, I step into the open circle, which is filled with nothing but sand. This author does this a lot, where her sentence structure implies something that she didn't mean, and her editor should have caught that.
So people have told me that this book was self-published before it was picked up for traditional publishing, and I have a theory that it really wasn't edited, like bare bones edited at most, because I feel like the publishers who kind of just tend to be greedy and out for the money, no offense publishers, but that especially big name publishers, that's what they're there for. They're there to make money. Anyway, they saw that this book was making money already as it was, no fixes, no editing out there in the world as a self-published book. And so they were like, well, why would we spend the money to edit it? Why would we spend the money? Why would we change it into a better book when people are enjoying it in its crunchy, hyper-indulgent state? And so they left it like this. And I don't even know if a developmental editor was involved at all, because it sounds like Reads with Rachel had the OG copy and then the traditionally published copy. And aside from fixing some spelling errors, they are pretty much identical. 1000% a developmental editor was nowhere near this book. And I would like to once again just briefly mention that I'm a developmental editor and I can help you avoid this book's entire situation. Because, hey, maybe one day you'll self-publish, and then, hey, maybe one day you'll become popular and you'll get picked up by a traditional publisher. And then you can save yourself snarky assholes like me mocking your book for being terrible by having it edited to begin with.
So there is one other person in the center of the circle. It's the criminal that the king promised, which means that it is completely contrived that they all ended up here. I thought for sure that he wanted them to fight each other because he hates Peyton for some reason. But no, there really is a criminal just tied up in the center. I'm guessing it's going to be Lenny. That's my theory. It's going to be Lenny, because that's the only guy in the rebellion that we like. So Peyton is like running towards the criminal tied up in the center. But I'm surprised that it wasn't just they have to fight each other. So that seems like something that the king would enjoy doing to them. But anyway, we're going to get on to Peyton's chapter and find out who is in the center. Oh no, okay. It's Adena, the character that we basically forgot existed and really was literally only there to make pretty dresses for our main character. Adena is the one who's tied up in the center, who Peyton needs to kill. Of course, Peyton won't, because she's just so rebellious and determined, you guys. Also, can we just briefly make a pause to talk about the optics of having one of the only 2 black characters tied to a pole, having been beaten? Although she is the quintessential person of color just there to serve the white main character. Peyton even thinks she is my light because this girl has nothing outside of serving the white main character. By the way, if you're one of those people who's about to comment again that it's not actually racism, please, I beg you, go do some research about harmful tropes against people of color and stop just coming here into my comment section and commenting the same thing over and over again. I'm going to start deleting them. All right? It is a harmful trope against people of color to have a black or brown character whose only function in the story is to serve the main character. And she's still doing it now. Yes, before her main function was to make pretty princess dresses for the main character and then be forgotten about in every scene in between. And now her main function is to be a literal object. She doesn't exist as a person. She exists as a concept that the main character's like, oh no, my person, the person who makes me feel good is in danger, instead of like, oh no, my best friend, oh no, this person that we have grown to know and love as a character who has their own fully developed wants, needs, thoughts of their own. This scenario would not be a problem if Adena had been made into a fully realized character. She could still be black, but she wasn't. She wasn't made into a fully realized character. She is an archetype who is here to serve Peyton, the very white main character.
And if you're still going to the comments section to be like, well, Julian, that's a very American-centric way of looking at things. Not every other country has the same racism problems that America does. The author is American and she wrote for an American audience. So, what is her excuse? Seriously, American authors, it is not that hard to not fuck this up. Frickin' do better. Please, I'm just a white lady begging you. Do better.
And now she's dead. And of course she was killed by Blair, because Blair is our new unhinged bully since we already got rid of Ace. Now Peyton gets to sit there with this non-character in her arms, sobbing and having an emotional beat, even though Adena's the one who's dying. And her last words are about Peyton. Not anything to do with Adena or who she is. She's like, Peyton, wear that green vest I made for you. What the fuck? This is awful. This is awful.
Also, I'm aware that we're just doing Rue from the Hunger Games, kind of mixed together with Cinna from the Hunger Games. Both characters of color in the movie. I don't remember if Cinna was a person of color in the book. And some people did have a problem with the Hunger Games and killing Rue in the Hunger Games. There was a big difference, though, in that, Rue was in a death game where she had no choice and everybody except for one person was going to die. Also, Rue got to be more of a person than Adena ever got to be. Adena was, just fucking minding her business and got teleported here to die for the pathos. At least Rue was in the Hunger Games. Even mimicking the Hunger Games, even copying the Hunger Games notes, this author can't get it right.
Also, once again, everybody's just standing around letting characters have giant emotional moments. Like, Kai's not doing anything, Blair's not doing anything. They're just, I presume, fucking standing there while Peyton cries over her not person best friend, heavy quotations. By the way, if you're wondering if this author is dragging out this death scene to almost comical proportions, yes, she is. Again, yeah, the death scene almost gets hilarious because we have like 3 fake outs where she like sags and closes her eyes, but then, she opens them one more time so the main character can keep like waxing philosophical about how much pain she's in. And then Adena's like, No, wait, I'm still alive. I have a couple of last words about how much I love you, Peyton, and nothing else, because I have nothing else in my life. She does that like 3 times. It's actually pretty funny. It's like one of those fake Shakespearean deaths where the character keeps being like, I die. Actually, I don't die. I have a few more last words, and then I die. Wait, it's just like, that's what it felt like. Let's get on to Kai's point of view in chapter 60 and see if he did anything besides just stand there with his mouth fucking hanging open. I'm curious if it would have been a different prisoner if Blair had gotten to the center first. Would Blair have somebody that she cared about that the king would have killed, or was it just always going to be Adena? I heard countless stories about the 2 of them together during the first trial. Peyton's love for her friend was evident then, but now it's written all over her face. Boy, I would have loved to have heard those amazing stories of friendship that Peyton told him during the first trial. Instead, it was far more important how much we know that they were spooning and their constant romantic banter. Way more important. Conveniently, everybody's convening on the circle now. Jax is there. Andy is there in human form. And Kai is just like, the injuries that I inflicted to her jarred her back to her senses. So thank goodness that that's a thing that can happen.
Oh, I almost forgot. I was going to talk about why Jax didn't die in an earlier scene. I have a very strong theory that in the OG version, and Rachel, you've read the OG version, so if you're listening to this, correct me if I'm wrong, but I have a theory that in at least an OG version, Jax also died. So the only 2 Black people in the story, both killed for the pathos. But somebody perhaps pointed out to the author that the optics are not great on that. And so she was like, oh, well then I'll have him almost die. So we still get the pathos, but the optics aren't quite as atrocious as they are because they're pretty atrocious, even so. That's my theory. Let me know if you've read the OG version, the self-published version, and if Jax lived through that. But I still think perhaps that there was a rough draft where he didn't live, and maybe a beta reader pointed out, hey, you killed both your Black characters, basically the same way. For the pathos, for the white character. Please don't.
But thank God the rebels are here, and they've made it into the king's private box, and hopefully they are blowing it up or stabbing him, but once again, we all know how stupid everybody is in this world. Yeah, of course they're not killing the king, because that would make too much sense. There are other members of the resistance in the box, surrounding the king and queen and Kit. They are holding them almost lazily, all gripping daggers in their hands. So it's good to know that the resistance is also just not taking this super seriously. This might be the first time that we hear about the queen's powers, and she's so dismissed by Kai. If only she knew how little he thinks of his own mother. But he surmises that there must be a silencer in there with them, because it says, otherwise my father would have torn their limbs off by now. Kit would have lit them on fire, and mother would have helped by electrocuting them. She gets to help. She's a helper. So then a silencer is also suppressing him, but we know that he has been cleverly training, mostly off page, to resist silencers. So I'm sure he's going to be able to come out of that just fine, but I don't care about any of this. And also, it really sort of negates any kind of message that this book was trying to have about the rebellion by just having people with powers being overwhelmed by people with powers. It's not the powerless people succeeding. It's just the powerless people have recruited powerful people to do their bidding for them and not actually figuring out how to succeed in their own way, which kind of feels a little bit counterproductive to any kind of point we might have been making. But anyway, I'm really curious to see if Peyton will manifest any powers herself at the end of this book, or if we're going to wait and do that in a future book. The fact that Peyton doesn't have powers really does not matter to this story at all. And so, like, honestly, did we even need to do it? Do we even need to have her have, like, no powers? I guess it's so that she's sympathetic to the rebellion, but the real reason she joined the rebellion was because her dad was in it anyway, so, like, she could have had some small power, and it wouldn't have mattered. And it definitely wasn't because she would spend all her time thinking about how Kai would kill her if he knew, because she thought about that in any depth, like, one time, and then again swiftly dismissed it. So the fact that she is powerless doesn't matter. It's the title of the book, but it doesn't matter, actually, in the plot, in practice, doesn't matter. So I'm curious if we are going to, like, have her manifest a power, because oftentimes in a book like this, like in Light Lark, the powers were really important, and the fact that she didn't have one was, like, a problem, at least in her own mind, much of the time. So it made sense that we were building towards her turning out to have a power. But maybe we're waiting on that for Peyton for future books. Or maybe this will be the surprise rogue book series where the author somehow resists the temptation to make their main character, like, the most powerful one. If that's the case, this book gets extra points from me. Or this series, I guess. I will not be probably doing a full read-along of the series, but I might keep up with it with, like, long-form reviews like I did for the second Silly Dragon book. Anyway, it's lunchtime. I'm gonna go eat lunch. And when you see me next, I'll probably be in whatever clever cosplay I come up with for this book. It's tough because everybody's just wearing normal street clothes. All right, everyone, I am back. Who am I dressed as? You'll probably never guess, except for the hair. The hair gives it away. Who I am. Who am I? That's right, I'm Blair, the misunderstood girl who's punished just for having ambitions. Women shouldn't have ambitions, silly. Anyway, it was really difficult to dress as Blair because I think the only description we're given of her is that she has lilac hair. This is the best I could do on short notice for the lilac hair. I am, however, of course, wearing my earring, the guillotine earring, as a must. And I've done minimal makeup, mostly because my face is just feeling very overstimulated today, so I don't want to wear a lot of makeup. But I have this black cape because she's a Sith Lord. I would put the hood on, but the static electricity it would create in my wig might kill me. I gave her a crystal because she seemed like she might be a crystal girly. I don't know. And of course, green lipstick and a green tank top because she never gets the message that you don't have to wear green and you can be an individual like the main character. But I am wearing a tank top in honor of the fact that that's the only thing that we're really ever told that women wear aside from sexy dresses. And I didn't have a green sexy dress and I wasn't going to buy one for this book. This book, are you serious? Best I can do is a cheap Party City wig, all right? That's the best you're getting. I'm gonna put my glasses on now to ruin my Blair. I'm nerdy Blair. I'm nerdy Blair. I'm about to go to the library and kill a librarian with the Force. I'm also gonna take this cloak off because it's actually very hot. It's warm today, and I'm already wearing a wig. We are barreling towards the ending of this disastrous book. So just earlier today, I did the premiere of the very first episode of this series and was reminded that Kai is in fact the Gestapo. So that's fun for me. And Adam is here to witness my beautiful outfit / makeup combo. It doesn't make any sense because I'm cosplaying as a character whose only physical description is that she has purple hair.
And a tank top.
And a tank top, but that's not even her physical description. That's just because the main character doesn't wear anything except tank tops. So.
I mean, you could put that on me.
Yeah, there you go.
I could be the main character.
Adam could be the main character. He could, if he came in here wearing a tank top. We'd have to get you a silver wig. Mm-hmm. The main character has silver hair.
Oh, so
but I'm the bully character.
Oh, you're the bully.
Yeah, the bully has lilac hair. Ask me how I know. It couldn't be because every single time she appears on the page, we're reminded of that.
Every time.
I bet if you did a search in this book, like if you used the Kindle version and you searched for her name, you would find that her lilac hair mentioned in the same sentence as she's introduced in every scene.
I mean, Maybe you're confused. Maybe that's her full name.
Yeah, Blair with the lilac hair. Oh, that is her full name. Anyway, everyone, Adam's gonna be making some noise. Bring it in.
Mwah.
That was your extended Adam cameo for the evening. Adam's gonna be making some noise. Later I might make him feed the kitties just so I don't have to get up. But we are back on chapter 61. I believe we have about 8 chapters to go, but they're gonna be really short, bam, 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 back and forth. So we'll just do it while Adam makes noise in the kitchen to distract us from how awful this is. Chapter 61, we are back with Peyton. If I haven't gone back and seen the beginning again, viewing it with my viewers, I'm reminded of how awful Kai is and how somehow the author did not notice that she had created an actual Nazi as her main love interest. And so, like, the fact that, like, Adena is a prop rather than a person should not surprise me. So we're still hearing about how this little black girl was brutalized. She's dead now, and we're still finding out the ways that they brutalized her for the main character's benefit, so the main character can be upset about it, which is awful. And if you're down in my comments section questioning why this is awful, I question why you're here at my channel. Like, please do a minimum of research. I'm begging you. A wave of white-hot anger sweeps through me. Would you say it's a wave of white women tears? Don't worry though, this is actually just how you power the main character up. Also, I'm reminded that Adena can phase through solid objects. So it would have been really cool if it had been like, oh, Blair stabbed her with a stick. Like, that's what she did. She stabbed her with a stick, basically, right through her body. And then, you know, I almost called her Katniss. She is not worthy of having the name Katniss. Peyton runs to her friend's side and is like cradling her and is like, oh no, and then her friend, then Adena looks up and like winks at her because Adena phased through the object instead of being stabbed, and she's actually fine and she's just pretending. Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that be awesome if Adena could have a moment like that? So in her rage, one of her thoughts is, Adena was no criminal. And I'm like, so would it be fine that she's dead if she was a criminal? Like, your thought process is odd, Peyton. I'll say that. Peyton was totally down to kill whatever criminal she found in the middle of this arena. It's just because it was her friend that she's upset. After a lengthy inner monologue about how sad she is that this person was killed, Peyton looks up and realizes that there's a whole rebellion going on around her. Although, for some reason, they are, in fact, holding the king hostage and walking him out of the box by holding a dagger to his throat. And all of this seems just like the stupidest plan that the rebels could have. Bomb the box. Kill the king, kill the queen, kill the prince regent. The only person that you've got to deal with then is Kai. Why are we holding them hostage? I don't understand. The king is looking at her, and she says his eyes are like green emeralds, as opposed to the purple and blue emeralds. Watch as purple and blue emeralds somehow do exist, but you know what I mean. And of course she's having a crisis because now Kit knows that she's responsible for this because he showed her the tunnel. Oh, we gotta have this guilt on the main character's part. Kit now is giving her a look just like his father, cold and callous, and she's like, it's because of me. Like, not everything's because of you, ma'am. So Callum, one of the rebels, I can't remember who he is, nor do I care to, he amplifies his voice to say the very lame line of, so ends the purging trials, or blah, blah, blah. But he amplified his voice using Tila's powers. You remember Tila, she has teal hair. He uses Tila's voice powers. Tila is in the royal box with the king. Who else is in the royal box with the king? The silencer. So why are Tila's voice powers working? Can the silencer choose who they're silencing? Logic, who is she? We don't know her.
What are the rules? What are the rules?
Now, of course, The elites react to silencers as though it is to kryptonite, but only sometimes, because we hear about how Kai and the other contestants are writhing on the ground, having had their powers taken away. But the king, the queen, and Kit are not writhing on the ground, nor are we hearing that the other guards or the audience members are writhing on the ground. So who is writhing and when in contact with a silencer? Just so many logistical things that this author couldn't be arsed to care about. She just wanted a handy reason why the king couldn't fight back. Because the audience is filled with very unintelligent people, when Callum says, "We are ordinaries, we are fatals, we are the resistance," the audience gasps. Everybody's shocked to know that the people who have openly kidnapped their king are the rebels. I can't get over how stupid this is. This is like clusterfuck of idiocy happening right now.
Is it supposed to be stupid?
It's not stupid. It's advanced.
I wish we had a better idea of why people don't like the ordinaries, because it says the people seem terrified at the prospect of so many diseased ordinaries living among them. If they think that ordinaries have some kind of illness, maybe they're carriers for the plague or something, we need to see that. We need to see that. If that's part of the culture, that people fear ordinaries because they believe that they are diseased, we can't just be told it a couple of times in this book that that's actually why everybody hates ordinaries. Because Peyton is just a classic example of why is it always the dumb bitches, she's like, wait, these guys are planning to kill Kit, and probably also my murderous Nazi boyfriend. I didn't expect that. Apparently they're not planning to kill the king. They're planning to kill the princes to make the king be on their side, which doesn't make any fucking sense. The king is the main source of the prejudice. Start with him. Move on to the princes if you need to. Probably start with him. Next, Kai, because you've seen him killing people in the street. And last, Kit, because Kit seems like the most likely to get on your side. Because people like Lenny would know that Kit seems to be a really decent guy. If you gotta leave any of these people alive, Kit. But once again, we are not here for logic. So to be clear, just so we know where we are, the main character and the climax of this book is not the uprising against the evil king. It is the putting down of the uprising against the evil king. We are on the side of the Nazi regime. I don't know what to, I think this broke my brain. Like, it broke my brain, and it also makes me have a lot of questions about this author and how she feels. Like, is she one of those people who thinks that, like, anarchy in any situation is always wrong, even if it's anarchy to stop actual Nazis from genociding you? Because that's what it feels like. It feels like that we are getting the message that rebelling against evil dictatorship that's trying to genocide you is wrong. You're going about rebellion wrong. You should just let him genocide you. Like, what is their alternative? I would love to hear it, Peyton. I would love to hear it, Lauren. I feel so weird saying all of that in this ridiculous wig. Like, this wig, I feel like it's not punctuating my rage and confusion as well as it should be. But yes, hooray, good news everyone, because Kai has been practicing overcoming silencers. He breaks free and is now erupting in flames, and we're just gonna go on. Kai's chapter is a page long. Chapter 62. I would give anything if Kai hears the speech about the fact that there are ordinaries living in the city and just realizes that he's really shitty at his job. Like, fuck. I thought I killed all those people. I really suck at this. So, yep, thank God Kai, a member of the Gestapo, defeats the other silencer with his own silencing powers. If he silences the other silencer, doesn't that negate Kai's powers because he's using the other guy's powers? And if if the other guy can't use his powers, does that mean Kai can't draw his powers? I am thinking way too hard about this. This ending is so stupid. We're back with Peyton, chapter 63. Kai has lit all of the silencers on fire. What a hero. Thank goodness he's here. And Peyton, like the heroic hero type that she is like, I need to fucking get out of here. which she's correct about, but boy, does that make her look real cowardly. So in the midst of this chaos, as Kai is murdering the rebellion in front of her eyes, Peyton is like, I can't find Blair, but don't worry, I'll find her and kill her. We do not have time for your bitchy revenge plot, Peyton. Your rebel friends who are here on the side of good and justice are being killed. The rebels in Star Wars are being killed by the Sith in front of you, and you are like on the side of the Sith. She fucking forgot Adena. Oh my god. Peyton is awful. So she says, I moved to stand to my feet. This author is allergic to telling me that a character is standing without mentioning that they're doing it all the way to their feet. I moved to stand to my feet and abruptly stop at the feel of a heavy weight in my lap. Adena. She forgot her dead friend was cradled in her arms. Just when I think these characters can't get any more deplorable, they do. She's not going to take her friend with her. She could, like, a real hero in a story would be like, I'm going to take my dead friend with me, even if it puts me at risk, because I need to see that they get a proper burial. But a hero, heavy quotation marks, like Peyton, just dumps her dead friend into the sand, knowing that she will never get a proper burial, and, like, at best, her corpse is going to be trampled by people fleeing the arena. At best. I don't even know what Peyton is feeling about the situation right now, aside from that she needs to bugger off because both sides are going to want her dead at some point. Like, she knows that the rebels are losing, and she needs to beat feet. She's not going to try to help the rebels. She's just going to try to leave. And I don't know what she thinks. Like, we're getting none of her actual feelings. Is she, like, upset that the rebels are losing? She's just telling us facts, like the rebels are outmatched, there's too many Imperials now, they're going to get killed. But how does she feel about that? Is that good? Is that bad? Is that neutral? I don't know. And I can't use her previous actions to infer because Peyton is such a non-character. It seemed like she joined the rebellion just because, like, she was bored. It's a Tuesday, I've got nothing to do. Also, we've forgotten her injured foot. She's just running. No mention of the fact that she was injured. So I don't know why we injured her. Apparently she's supposed to be having some kind of revelation, but it's just the clumsiest thing I've ever read. So she thinks I'm so powerless. Basically, she's being strangled by the idea that she's so powerless and caught up in all of this, but it's not like she is caught up in all of this. She just decided to run. She's running away. She's not caught up in anything. And, like, she barely had any motivations of any kind during this entire story. So, like, if we're trying to have an arc where the culmination of it is that she comes to terms with the fact that she's powerless and probably gains herself a new power in the process, we have utterly failed. In almost 500 pages, nothing was done to set this up as the character's arc. Nothing. And, like, I fully admit that especially in my first drafts, I kind of suck at character arcs, alright? I try to get better at it, but sometimes it's a problem and I don't set it up enough and people are like, what's this character's arc? I get it. By the time that you are a best-selling published author, you should have a handle on it. You should have a handle. I don't know why we're tolerating this kind of just atrocious writing in our best-selling books. Buy better books. Everybody, please, go and buy better books. You know, I'm not even saying you have to buy indie books, although I do encourage it. Just buy better books. There are better books. There are better books where the male lead isn't a Nazi. There are better books where the female lead isn't such a flip-flopper that I have no idea what her personality is or what she wants or likes, aside from, I think she likes blueberries. Like, there are so many much better books with similar premises to this. Please buy those. And if you have to have this thing, get it at Goodwill. Don't, oh my god, I'm so mad. I'm so mad.
It flames on the side of my face.
What does this even mean? The aliens around me scatter. They dart, running around the outside of the bowl until their feet find another road heading in the opposite direction. What? What? So she's about to run away completely and go back to living in loot when she's like, wait, Adena's vest. I need to go back for the vest I promised my dead prop that I would wear every day. Why isn't she wearing her vest today? No clue. Seems like it'd be a handy thing to wear into the arena, but no, she's not. She's not going to take her dear friend's body out of there, but she's going to go back for the vest. That's priorities. So there are, of course, still guards on the palace. So she's running back to it. Guards materialize out of the shadows. And she's like, I have to fake being more seriously injured so they'll take me inside. When she could just say, I need to get inside, and I think they'd let her. So now I know she has an injured foot. It doesn't actually matter for her. It matters because she needs to be injured so that these guards will want to take care of her. She thinks, plagues, I cannot believe I've reduced myself to this. And I'm like, this is basically a carbon copy of your act when you were in the city. You used to pretend to bump into people to con them out of your money. How is pretending to be injured for these guards different? How is this sinking any lower than you have previously ever done? Also, in case we're too stupid to understand that she's faking it somehow, tears roll down my cheeks and I nod fervently in him, hoping I look scared and stunned, though I am neither of those things. Do you understand, reader? Do you understand that she's pretending? Are you too stupid to pick up the fact that she's pretending? Let me help you. She has to remind herself she's as dumb as this author thinks the readers are. She has to remind herself that while a guard is carrying her into the palace, that she shouldn't kill the guard because he's doing exactly what she wants. So we have our first potentially fat character. A healer shows up, and he immediately waddles over to her because fat people can't just walk. So the healer just shows up, waddles, heals her foot, and fucks off. So now she doesn't even have the injury. Wow, I'm so glad we injured her. But yes, she found the vest, very important, and she got some new boots. So she's ready to go. She's ready to go. You know what would be a great arc for her? If this is going to be like the ending of her arc, all right? Make her a coward. Make her a cowardly character. She doesn't win fights, she escapes them. She talks her way out of situations. She's not a fighter, she's a fleer. Have it work for her a couple of times, but slowly have her feel more and more ashamed about the fact that she always flees. And now, in this moment, she's fleeing again, to the maximum level of fleeing. She had to leave her friend's dead body behind. She's not staying to help the rebels. She's just getting out, only thinking about herself. Then you can have her come to the realization, this is a character arc. This is a character arc that I'm explaining to you that she could have. As she's doing this, or at some point during this, she comes to the realization that she needs to stop running. She needs to stand up for something, and it should be the rebellion. Although, knowing Peyton, it would actually be for the boy that she likes, who is, can I reiterate this as many times as possible, a Nazi. I feel like I say that so many times it's losing its meaning, but I just don't know a better way to express what Kai is. That's what he is. It's raining now, you know, for the mood. The rain heard that they needed it to be a climax, so we needed rain for that. So as she's running away, just super, super conveniently, the king just appears in front of her.
You're kidding. What a crazy random happenstance.
So she doesn't actually have to put any effort into having any kind of convictions or anything like that. She just gets her father's killer for free right in front of her. And if she does kill him, it will be because he killed her father and not because he is a tyrant ruining the lives of innocent families and doing a genocide. It's because he killed her dad, and that's the only thing that she cares about. Somehow he knows that she's a resistance member and an ordinary, and I don't know why he knows that, how he came to that conclusion. Like, are we ever going to have that explained? Like, there could be an in-story reason. I just don't know what it is. She thinks how he managed to get away from the fighting mob inside the bowl is beyond me. Yeah, you'd think the guards would prioritize keeping an eye on the king. You'd think that that would be a thing that they would do. But in fact, actually, he was plucked from his position by the hand of the author and plopped in front of the main character is what actually happened. So the king does explain how he knows her. He just remembers her from killing her dad. He's like, yeah, I've known who you were this whole time. And your dad was a rebellion leader. I just also let you coerce my son into guiding rebels directly into my palace. That's fine. I am a genius tactician.
You magnificent bastard, I read your book!
I think this is supposed to be a really intense scene where the king is being like, you're nobody. You're just a slummer. and it's pouring rain, and I think in the author's head this was like really intense and cool and powerful, but it's meaningless because there's no arc here. This isn't the culmination of an arc. This is just yet another random bully who appeared to get in Peyton's way. She says, why didn't you kill me if you knew I was an ordinary? And he says, because I needed you alive, but now you are no use to me, and since the trials didn't kill you, I get the pleasure of doing it myself. Did he ever explain how she was of use to him? Was this all part of his long game to get the rebels to come to him? Because they were definitely kicking his ass if Kai hadn't just conveniently been practicing against silencers. So, like, I don't know what he needed Peyton for, and he doesn't need her for it any longer.
Is it supposed to be stupid?
I hope he kills her. Quite frankly, I don't care about any of these people. I hope he kills her and then lightning just happens to strike him. Awful. Terrible, and not in a fun way. Just in a, oh my god, the implications, why did the author not think of the implications way. Get several hundred sensitivity readers, please. I'm sure that if you ask the author, that she would claim that she had sensitivity readers given to her by the publisher, probably. And I don't believe her. I'll just say it. Name their names. Who are your sensitivity readers? Where can I find them? What are their names? I need to know. Anyway, I'm going to stop and record again in just a minute. I just want to make sure that I don't lose any footage, so I'm going to do this in sections. Alright, we're back. So Julian can continue to bleed from her ears as her brain explodes from how awful this book is. And just the sheer levels of bafflement that this thing is so popular. I see it, I've been seeing it so much in, I'm not on TikTok, but I am on Instagram and I'm on YouTube and the bookish side of YouTube. I've been getting this a lot as shorts of people being like, my new book boyfriend, and look, there's Powerless, and it's like, I am now concerned about a lot of these people. Why? What? Can you explain to me what draws you to him? Can you please? Is it the genocide? Is that what draws you to him? I need to know. Anyway, we're back with Kai. Oh, thank goodness. Chapter 64. Kai's got a knife, and he stabs someone, and he says, pushing through the tough leather encasing him, which I take to mean that he's wearing armor for some reason, even though a knife just went right through it. But, the leather encasing him kind of just makes it sound like this man is burritoed in leather. Also, apparently this guy just sprayed blood in a cartoonish anime fashion because it splattered all over Kai. Kai is grappling with the realization that some Imperials are actually on the rebel side and have joined up with the rebels. Kai is just kind of sort of toddler level confused why anybody would side with the rebels. And I'm I don't know, man, maybe not everybody's as awful as you are. Did you think of that? Apparently all of the ordinaries, their main method of defense is leather armor. Boy, this rebellion is looking really, really poorly planned every moment. Kai is doing knife combat with an ordinary, and he's decided, even though we are in a pitched battle where it's so chaotic that Kai can't even tell who's an ordinary and who's not because there's so many powers around him, he's decided that he's gonna just 1v1 this guy with no powers to keep it fair. And he's like, wow, this ordinary is actually a good fighter. He's shocked by that because he's such an awful person that he never imagined an ordinary could have any redeeming qualities. But of course Kai does win because Kai is better than everybody and he does stab this guy. So his admiration is extremely short-lived. Kai was slightly injured in the fight, and I don't care. I hope he bleeds to death. He takes a moment to look at Kit, who he tells us is fighting viciously. He's gone completely feral, but he doesn't describe in what way. He just says, oh, I've never seen Kit fight like this. Anyway, moving on. It would be nice to know what that looks like, but we're not doing that. He's not alarmed when he doesn't see his parents, but he is too dumb to think that that might be because they're dead. He's like, oh, that means that the Imperials have escorted them back to the palace already. But he sees some rebels trying to escape, and like the heroic man that he is, he's like, oh, nobody gets away from me. All these bitches gotta be dead. So he runs after them, and then we're back with Peyton. Oh, I'm so glad we're almost done with this book, because these people are awful. awful, just terrible, terrible people. Why would I want to follow either of these characters into more books, into multiple books? I'm supposed to follow these people. Oh yeah, she was fighting with the king. I already forgot that. I already put that out of my brain because I don't care what happens to this bitch. She's decided to use her Sherlock Holmesian deduction on the king to help her win the fight.
Discombobulate.
Yeah, she's not mad about this tyrant's rule of genocide that would have had her killed if anybody found out what she was. She's mad because he killed her daddy. Her papa. She's totally doing it. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die moment. Except for, Inigo is a lovely, engaging, and round character, while Peyton is whatever the opposite of all of those things is. I'm running out of words here. Even though Peyton is like, okay, I've already got this king figured out, I know his moves, like he's not actually like that good, I can get close and get him, the king still manages to bonk her on the head. And then he slashed her across the abdomen, and like, I know these injuries are just happening so that we feel tension in this scene, but I hope that she also bleeds to death. I hope that both Kai and Peyton just lie down and die somewhere. This girl, she's just so clever. She's like, admit it, you lied to everyone, telling them that ordinaries were diseased so that you could rule your evil empire. And it's like, yup. Is that supposed to be some kind of reveal? Who's he gonna, you already know that, Peyton, so who's he gonna tell? Like, you want him to admit something that you've known this entire time. And you know it because you're an ordinary and you're not diseased. My brain is locking up. It's locking up from how awful this is. So she manages to break the king's elbow, but he slams her into the ground, and he has quote-unquote brawny strength, and he slams her to the ground with it. Her vision is completely gone, and she's bleeding all over, and I'm like, please, let there be brain matter on the cobblestones. Let her reign of idiocy be over. As he's standing over her, pressing his foot into her ribs, she asks, does human life mean nothing to you? Really? You're gonna ask this man that question? That's the question you want to go with? You don't want to think of anything better? He's so strong, and I'm so weak. And this is the author attempting to have a theme in the last, 10 pages of this book. Of course, the evil king has to play with his food. He's monologuing and torturing her and drawing it out to give probably Kai enough time to come and save her ass. Tears slip down my cheeks against my will, implying that they might have had a chance of slipping down your cheeks because you wanted them to. So even though she's super, super duper injured and he's been cutting her up and torturing her here for a minute, she decides that no, I do not die today. And she grabs his foot to yank him off balance. He fully falls over and she scrambles away. This author does not think that you can understand the emotions that might be happening in this deadly death scene. So it says, I scream, frustrated and fearful. Because this author's style is both very wordy and very telly at the same time, she's not doing a good job of bringing us into the scene and making us feel what the character feels, making us feel the adrenaline of the moment. We feel very outside of this scene because we're just being told things like, my leg hurts, I am cold from the rain. But she grabs the king's sword and then she manages to be standing over him now. Oh, how the turns have tabled. Oh no, a startling last-minute revelation. Who could have seen this coming? Not me. But the king's like, actually, Peyton, I didn't kill your father. You killed your father! I assume he adds in an evil cackle because, Wait, or Kai killed her father? I'm so confused. So he's like, ha ha ha, you imagined it was me because you don't like me, but it wasn't actually me. And then he's like, let's just say your first encounter with the prince wasn't when you saved Kai in the alley, it was when he killed your father. Well, okay, who killed her father? Now we've got three potentials, her, Kai, and the king. Who killed Dad? Did he just stab himself at this point? I don't even know. He's alive somewhere, actually. I was almost waiting for her dad to just, reappear at some point. That could be a twist that this book would try to pull out of its ass. Now she finally cares. Now she finally has noticed that Kai is a trained assassin who kills people she might actually love. So the king is like, yep, it was Kai's first mission. He went and killed your dad. Ha 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 ha. And she's like, the boy who taught me how to dance, healed my wounds, asked me my favorite color under the stars. Miss Ma'am, don't act like you didn't know. It only matters to her now because it was her dad. He could kill as many people as he wanted as long as they weren't her favorite people. Also, the whole thing she had going this entire time is because she had, like, memorized the king's face when he killed her father, and that's why every freaking time she looked at Kit, she was like, he looks just like his dad, he looks just like his dad. But if it was Kai, we're never told that he looks like his dad. In fact, I think we're told that he doesn't look a lot like his dad. So, like, why did she fixate on the king's face specifically? And how much Kai looked like his dad. She shakes off that revelation real fast. I don't know why the king said you killed your father, and then was just like, actually, no, it was Kai. Very confusing there. But the king is like, weak, just like your father, and then she just fucking stabs him. She says, this is for my father, which is, no, I want my father back, you son of a bitch. I'm sorry, Peyton. You're just not that cool. So she kills him. That's the end of the chapter. My food just got here, so I am going to go take my lipstick off and get my food ready, and then we will continue as I enjoy my dinner and finish this awful, awful book.
Okay, so I'll probably talk about this more in like my follow-up video that I'm gonna make, but I wanted to talk here about how I would fix the king, and as a result, this final climactic fight with the king. So we all know that the king seems to be a bit of an idiot. He lets people he doesn't know, or in the case of Peyton, people he does know, might not be his friend, wander around the castle, be near him with a dagger on their person. He is super assassinatable, and all he has for power is that he's a brawny. Like, the author was so lazy about his power. She's like, we'll make him, like, physically strong, and that's it. Like, this is the guy who's, like, ruling this kingdom with an iron fist. He's just physically strong, because he's not very smart, that's for sure. But anyway, so instead of making him like just a brawny, I would give him the same power as Kai. Kai inherited his power from his father, and that's why the king is so confident, because the king feels very confident that when somebody attacks him, he can just use their power against them. And that's why he's actually afraid of the powerless people, because they can attack him and he cannot use their power against them. So he finally gets into this fight with Peyton. I would switch up the fight so it's not just like she's running in the rain and he happens to step out in front of her, because that's very silly. But like, let's say that the climax happens and he gets into a fight with Peyton, and like all of his bravado, all of his power is stripped away because she is quote unquote powerless. I'm still convinced we're going to find out she has powers in a future book that are being blocked by something. But she is powerless, and therefore he doesn't have his trump card. He has to fight her hand to hand, and he's not good at that. Like, let that be the thing. Make the king so dangerous, but so overconfident. Like, let us see him using other people's powers, and seeing how deadly he is with other people's powers, and how, like, quickly he switches between them, quicker than Kai, better than Kai. And, like, that's why the king is so dangerous and so powerful, is because he is so good at, like, using other people's powers. But then he has to fight Peyton, and he can't do that anymore. Wouldn't that be not only a good fight, but also a meaningful fight that, like, uses the themes that this book desperately tried to have?
Hello, welcome back. I now have my bacon cheeseburger on a pretzel bun and this iced tea. So we are ready to finish this book. Emotional support burger in hand. Wish me friggin' luck, because maybe if my mouth is full, I will spend less time jabbering about how much I hate these characters. Also, if I get bacon grease on this book, I do not care. So yeah, she killed the king with her father's dagger to the throat. And now, of course, she's got to have a mini existential crisis. Like, have I become a killer? And it's like, you were already a killer when you sicked your murderous boyfriend on Ace. That was you. That was you doing the killing. You just had somebody else actually wielding the knife. And then Peyton realizes that this entire scenario has been watched by one of the people who are basically video cameras. Also, the little girl's sight is described to look exactly like Adena for some reason. She doesn't even have time to grab her dad's dagger out of the king's throat. Oh no, someone's chasing her. Who could it be? Why, it's Kai, who also, for some fucking reason, is here. He was chasing rebels, and I guess he just chased rebels. They got away, or he killed them, and now he's just here. And upon seeing him, she snaps back to when her father died, and she's like, oh yeah, I totally did see Kai, who looks completely different from the king. And at that point, if I was her, I'd be wondering, why did I think that the king did it? Why did I make that such a strong memory that I couldn't even look at Kit because he resembles the king? This is a not a very good twist, by the way, in case you're wondering, like, hey, what's the quality of this twist? Not good. I'd say this was a surprise baddie reveal, and I might still give it that on the bingo card, but that's only because Peyton doesn't believe that Kai is evil, when we, in fact, all know that he's evil. It was so easy to be drawn to him because deep down I knew him, recognized him, remembered him. He was familiar to me. Well, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Boy, would it hurt? I wonder how much it would hurt Kai's feelings to find out that the only reason that this girl was attracted to him is because he killed her father, and for some reason that made her, like, baby duckling onto him. And I'm sure this is supposed to be a deeply romantic moment, but he, like, throws a dagger and misses her, and she's like, Kai doesn't miss unless he wants to. And he asks, my pretty Pei, what have you done to me? But he's going to try to kill her again. And she just decides that she's going to take it. Even though she was like, the king killed my father and therefore I will kill him. But now she's like, Kai killed my father and therefore it's fine if he kills me. Kai experiencing human emotion for the first time. Why is it when it comes to you I'm suddenly a coward? Why is it when it comes to you I suddenly care? Why is it that I can't throw this damn knife at my father's killer? Well, maybe because your father was a horrible abuser and you should be glad he's dead. But also, just like, literally, I think I am watching Kai experience a human emotion for the first time in his life in real time. And now we're just setting up for a reset button for the next book. So Kai's like, I should kill you, and I will, but later. You run away now, and then later I'll find you and I can stab you. And it's literally just a reset button so that the next book, these characters have to start over on square one. And she runs away, and we're going to Kai's POV for his experience of an actual human emotion for the first time in his life, chapter 67. Boy, we are just like going to the Lauren, whatever her last name is, School of Telling. I feel numb. I feel shocked. I feel betrayed. Thanks. Wow, what an evocative way to write the emotions that this character is going through. So Kai puts the pieces together because he's also a detective genius, and he's like, wait. Now that I think about it, it is weird that I could never sense her powers. It is super weird. And also, it seems like if she was running away and she killed my dad, she's probably part of the resistance. And then he's like, big brain moment here. What a genius. But also, he lets us know that there isn't a resistance anymore because they've all been slaughtered. So, great. Wonderful. And if you're wondering at the last moments of this book, if he stands to his feet, he does. So he just thinks about how he's going to have to kill Peyton the next time he sees her, and that's the end of the chapter. We don't even get, like, any real introspection. We're just told, here's a list of feelings that Kai is having, and that's it. End of the chapter. Chapter 68. How many more chapters are there? I think this might be the last one. Yep, and then there's an epilogue from Kit's point of view. So we'll go ahead and finish this bad boy out, still in the same recording file. I have a full mouth, and I just read something so stupid. So when the king was torturing her and, like, cutting her with the sword, he carved an O for ordinary into her chest. And that is fucking hilarious. There's nothing else to say about it. It is hilarious that this author thought that that was going to be, like, a deep, meaningful thing. So now Peyton is going to be running around the next book with an O scarred into her chest. Oh, apparently forget-me-not flowers are supposed to be important in this book, which I imagine was what all of the flowers all over the cover are, but I don't remember them being a thing at all. But she sees some forget-me-not flowers, and she is like, oh, that's mine and Kai's flower. Oh, no, book. Don't do this. Nigel, you have to get down. Mommy's eating. Here's a fact about me. Here's a little fact about me. I love symmetry. I love when books end the same way or similar ways to how they began. I just like love when authors can do that skillfully, beautifully. I love doing that myself in many of my stories if I at all can. Just bring it back, bring the themes back around, bring the story back around, bring the characters back around to where they began. But she is bleeding a lot, and she thinks thick, hot liquid runs down my brand, my body, my very being. Honey, that's what I tell myself. It's just honey. No, I hate it. Thank you for ruining one of my favorite things that books do for me. Powerless is on a one-book crusade to ruin everything that I enjoy. All right, and we're epiloguing Kit's point of view. It is a couple pages long, but we'll see if we can get through it here. So it's been 3 days. The author finds the longest, most wordy way to say that, but it's been 3 days. So now Kit also has a chip on his shoulder because, Peyton murdered his father, and he actually liked his father. Kai is just evil. I can't help but feel that the author was proud of this sentence. I can almost feel her smug smile dripping with glee. She wrote this sentence. I'm not cool and collected and constantly wearing a carefully constructed mask around most. It almost sounds like a Dr. Seuss sentence to me, but I'm sure she was very proud of it. I feel rage and grief, inadequate and hollow, despair, and just in case you're wondering what he's feeling, we're just going to tell you. We're just going to tell you a list of emotions. Let's just get out our thesaurus and find some emotions and say, I feel, I feel, I feel. Wow, we are just loving alliteration. Kind Kit doesn't act crazy. Kind Kit is caring, not a killer. I didn't know Kit's brain had this going on in it the whole time, but that's interesting to know. Kit just thinks completely in alliteration. Also, Kit has very uncharitable thoughts about his stepmother, which I don't love. He's basically like, she's not my real mom. It's like, how's she doing, that woman who is not my mother? Kit thinks I'm not sure what Kai felt for our father. Well, then you mustn't have been a very good brother. You can't have been as close as you thought you were, because it's pretty fucking obvious. So Kit has decided to follow in his father's footsteps, not surprising anyone, because of course he now feels super betrayed, and the rebels are bad, and we really do just need to kill all of the ordinaries. And Kai is his enforcer, flooding his face with feelings that flit too fast for me to interpret. So basically this is just, let's trade dead fathers as motivation. Dead fathers as motivation is all these people have, because they don't have actual personalities. So now he's like, we have to take our vengeance on Peyton because she killed our father, when in this book she was trying to take her vengeance for the people who killed her father. It's just dead fathers all around. Revenge plots for our dead fathers, everybody. And you get a dead father revenge plot, and you get a dead father revenge plot, and you, and if you look under your chairs, audience, there's a dead father revenge plot. Yep, so he's just like, go find Peyton and bring her to me, and that's the end. And then we get to the acknowledgments, which are always super long for these books, because the author wants to thank everybody she's ever met and their dog. Maybe these people were just a smidge too supportive of her dream, if this is the book that resulted from it. Nikki, thank you for not only listening to me rant about plot holes, but for helping me to find ways to resolve them. Nikki, you did not do a good job, and also there were other plot holes before now? Nikki, I don't know who Nikki is, but we need to talk. Her editor's name is Michelle Rosquillo? Michelle, Rosquillo. Maybe don't hire Michelle. If you're about to get published and your agent or publisher or whoever is like, here's your editor, Michelle Rosquillo, run away. Oh dear. Although perhaps Michelle is rather put upon, because she says, thank you for making this process fun and exciting, including the 4-hour phone calls I put you through. Why do I get the feeling that maybe, possibly, and this is just a theory, a book theory, possibly Michelle was like, here are some changes you could make, and then the author was like, let's have a 4-hour phone call where I tell you all of the reasons that I won't be making those changes. Because I've known authors like that. You try to give them critique, and instead they just want to talk to you about how actually their story is brilliant and you just don't understand it, and they won't be changing anything. To be clear, none of my clients, none of my editing clients, at least not to my face, but I have encountered people like that because I've been in writers groups before, and there's always at least one.
And I know I'm throwing a lot of shade towards a fellow editor. I imagine that she was not a developmental editor, but if she was, I feel sorry for her trying to change anything in this book, but I also feel very strongly that probably this book didn't even have a developmental editor because it changed so little. So either didn't have one, or poor Michelle was just gave advice and told that the author actually wasn't going to be taking any of it, and the book was going to be pretty much the same as it always was. Like, one of those two things happened. But, like, I know I'm throwing a lot of shade, and it's more to tell you that, like, if you are getting traditionally published, you can, like, pay attention to who you're being, like, paired up with, and, like, perhaps you can decide, like, help decide, like, hey, maybe I don't want to work with that editor. I don't know, you might not have the power to say that, but it's something to think about. Like, think about what agent you might be querying, and what they have done in the past, what other books they have published, what other books they have worked on. Same for editors. What other books have they worked on? Although, like I said, I expect that perhaps this editor was actually just struggling. She was out here struggling with this book, and, like, she's probably actually a fine editor, but look at what she was given to work with.
She says, if only little Lauren could see me now. I don't know. How would your childhood self feel knowing that you wrote this book specifically? She thanks her book talk audience. So I think very clearly the way to go, those of you who are listening, do as she does, not as I do, because I am not successful or well-loved or popular. You should apparently just get started on book talk and somehow through magic, I don't know, bargains with the Crossroads demon, I don't know how it works, get popular on book talk, and then you can publish whatever the fuck you want. You can have your Nazi love interest. Doesn't matter, as long as you're popular on book talk. Oh, she's Christian. Oh, why am I not surprised? And, like, let me be so clear. Even though I am no longer Christian, I do not hold the hard feelings for Christianity that a lot of people do when they leave the faith. A lot of my family is still Christian. Many of my friends are still Christian. I don't hold any sort of animosity towards it. But at the same time, why am I not surprised that she's thanking the Lord for the fact that she published this book? Do you think Jesus, let me ask, you think Jesus would really be okay with this? You think that he is down for this? There was no premarital sex, so I guess maybe. She says, now pretend I'm giving you a hug. And no thank you, Lauren. No thank you. I do not consent to your hug. Oh, and just on time, my memory card is full, so that is my cue to exit stage left. There is, like, some extra bonus chapters in this book, which I will be reading for my patrons and my channel members. Thank you all so much for joining me. Don't forget that you can find me on Patreon or become a channel member to see exclusive videos. Also don't forget that I am a developmental editor, and I will help you point out if you've accidentally written a Nazi love interest, or that your main character doesn't have a personality, or an arc, or anything resembling being interesting. I'll let you know. And I'll help you fix it before it gets published, before this. And then I will cheer along with you when your book is published, because I do want you to have the most success out there in the world. But now, alas, I must leave you with the important lesson: please don't make your love interest a Nazi. I will see all of you again next time with whatever it is I happen to be doing next time. Bye.
I'm David Pumpkins, man!
Okay, yeah, and David Pumpkins is
his own thing.
You know who else is their own thing? My patrons, like
Pixel Izzy, Rhea, Christina, Megan, Lady Kragan, Jose,
Marshy, Semidark, GK, Scout, K, Annika, Jen, Gay Tutter, Constantina, Locknanga, SB Boots, Martha Baggins, July, Bird Anonymous, Sarah, Cat, 78 kilograms of shade, Veda, Roma, Pansing Pony, Haley, Sam, Kira, Kohikaru, Mooney, Puttamancer, Kirsten, Bear, Jojo Bookish, Robin, Ursula, Caitlin, Jessica, KJ Lafone, Mufflier, Celia, Alyssa, Deborah, Afra, Melissa, Swamp Goblin Waifu, Sophia, Marween, Kit, Hidden Glade, Light Julie, Belle, Patrick, and Sophie, Callison, Shelby, Zaire, Jesper, Rennie, Scribbling Cat, Savvy, Jenny, Amanda, and Lisa. Keep being your own thing, everybody.
So recently we've gotten a bunch of new patrons, and I'm super thrilled to have some newbies on board. And as usual, I offered to do a shout out for them at the end of a video, and anything that they wanted shouted out. So I have a couple, and I'll let you know if there are more. Marshy wanted to shout out the 372 pages We'll Never Get Back podcast, which sounds interesting, and I need to check it out in further detail.
To do this.